I think that her saying that she thinks that she believes Donald Trump is a fascist got a lot of headlines because it was the first time she said it. She's been going along for days saying Mark Milley said he's a fascist. This person said this. You raised the question of authenticity in your interview with her, and that was an authentic moment where she says, "Yeah, I do think he's a fascist," and I think that's why it had a reaction. Donald Trump, he, for whatever you think about him, if you like him, if you hate him, he is certainly who he is. He's showing us who he is every single day.
Yeah, which is a fascist. And it's crazy because you still don't have news networks having that conversation. Like when somebody says, when somebody questions Kamala Harris's blackness or is she a DEI hire, y'all will have roundtable discussions about that, asking that question. How come you're not having roundtable discussions asking, is Donald Trump a fascist? Actually not even asking it, stating it. I mean, when you look at the things that he's talking about doing, jailing journalists, jailing his political opponents, turning the military.
Charlamagne, they have. MSNBC has went on complete meltdowns saying Donald Trump is Hitler, brother. I know you're not trying to call out the media.
It's interesting to hear him say this because I've seen him on his show multiple times say that Trump is better at talking about the issues that American people want. His ads are effective and working. And now you turn around out that same mouth and say that they should call him a fascist. I mean, I think the reason they don't do that is because that's just something that you guys are trying to do to get him to lose the election.
Well, why nobody else called the other party a fascist when we actually seen them trying to take him off the ballots? We try to see them try to actually put him in court cases in multiple different states before.
He's a threat to democracy. They had a right to do it.
I think the double standard that they play is very interesting because they try to do everything they can to shield Kamala and lift her up to win the presidential nomination and everything they can to tear down Trump. And it's almost getting ridiculous. I think that the constant attacks and constant begging for attacks on Trump is really what's turning people off to the idea that maybe your candidate can stand on her own.
Charlamagne is a complete pussy. He is a personality that I dislike the most.
I think he's a fraud
on the internet. He flip-flops too much. He's wishy-washy. He doesn't know what he's wanting.
It's crazy because he let Hillary Clinton come on his show and pull hot sauce at a person and say,
I like hot sauce.
Yeah, so he's like, are you pandering? She's like, I don't know, is it working?
You're not black if you vote.
Yeah, this is the same guy that let a man who voted for the 1994 crime bill and say he didn't want desegregated schools tell him you ain't black if you don't vote for him.
I mean, when you look at the things that he's talking about doing, jailing journalists, jailing his political opponents, turning the military on American citizens. The guy said he wanted to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. How come that is not the topic of discussion on networks like CNN every day?
But do you think that, you were raising this with Kamala Harris about her own authenticity, about her own willingness to just, say things that aren't crafted. Do you think she needs to do more of that? Trump's going to go. Trump's going to go. Apparently, Trump's going on is going to tape a thing with Joe Rogan. Do you think she should do that?
I think that she should keep calling Donald Trump a fascist. And I think that Americans need to keep looking at the rhetoric of Donald Trump because I don't know why we're even thinking about electing somebody who's talking about putting people in camps. I don't know why why we want to elect somebody who's talking about mass deportation. I don't know why we're having this conversation about somebody who wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. Aren't we supposed to be a patriotic country? Whenever somebody like Colin Kaepernick takes a knee in this country, everybody talks about, oh, that's so unpatriotic. But a guy can say he wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election and nobody cares. Like even me bringing it up now, you brought it back to Kamala and Joe Rogan. Anderson?
Yeah.
Who gives a damn?
Well, I think
he is a 5-star grifter.
It's interesting. It's interesting the points that he used there. Talked about the Colin Kaepernick thing. That's old news. That's been drugged through the mud. And it was interesting to hear him say that Trump said he was going to terminate the Constitution. Why does everyone keep bringing up these quotes that they've taken out of context and interpreted to mean and say that's what it meant when you can go watch the initial quotes and things and see that's not what it meant? I don't understand why everyone thinks mass deportation of illegal people is crazy.
You want to know what's
crazy?
crazy?
You get deported in any other country you enter illegally.
You know what's crazy?
But it's crazy if we do it here.
I think this party's really trying to call Trump a fascist when this party literally took out the leading president that got elected to be a president, took him out and just gave us somebody. That don't look like fascism.
Bro,
that don't look like
That's
Marxism.
very interesting.
Joe Biden didn't even win fairly, if we keep it real. They didn't have nothing.
So
I mean, it's very interesting.
They didn't
that-
have a primary. That's what I mean.
that they can draw all these criticisms of Trump. I mean, if everything Trump was doing was so illegal, why hasn't the systems in place and laws in place put a stop to it? That's almost like saying we're living in a broken country that's been existing for thousands of years, and all the systems we have in place don't work. That is
people
ridiculous.
believe that.
The Supreme Court is on his side.
It's truly ridiculous. Like there's so many people in high places and systems and people in place and things in place to prevent a dictatorship, fascism, all these things from happening in America, and people are just like harping on the fact that he's all these things that we have systems in place to prevent.
It's because he got white privilege.
If you just look at all the quotes they try to use against Trump and the rhetoric they use, or his rhetoric he uses, I mean, it's really not that. It's really not what they try to make it.
If I hear one more ism or ist, I'm going to get pissed off. Fascist. Fascism. Racism. I'm just tired of this, bro. This name calling shit is annoying.
Well, I mean, I think you give damn who's elected president, and
Yeah,
I'm
especially
asking
if that
you.
president is a fascist. That's talking about putting people in camps. That's talking about, once again, terminating the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. That's
somebody
talking
show me
about,
where he said that?
jailing his political opponents. Like, that rhetoric doesn't scare people?
Well, we talk about this
Obviously
every
not.
single. This is what
I don't think
I've been
y'all talk
talking
about
about this
it
every night.
I don't think y'all have enough conversations about it. I feel like I heard more on this network about is Kamala Harris black than I do
Are you
about,
kidding me,
Donald
Charlamagne?
Trump being a fascist.
Well,
am I wrong, Angela?
Honestly,
He's
that's
an
bullshit.
idiot.
I'm sorry.
Ooh, okay.
That's no,
Go
that
ahead,
is
Anderson.
that. No, I'm not.
Is that
I'm
Angela
a huge
Rye?
fan of yours.
Okay.
But to
Oh,
say
my
that
gosh.
we're sitting around discussing is
Oh,
Kamala
my
Harris
gosh.
black, like
Oh,
mean,
I've seen that. I've seen
that's
those roundtable
definitely
discussions
on.
a lot. Now
That's
that's
true.
bullshit, Anderson. For you to say that y'all don't have those conversations.
I've never asked somebody is.
Oh, I'm not saying
Kamala
you.
Harris
I said
black?
the
Not you.
network.
He said the network. He
I
did
don't
say
think
the
anyone
network.
I don't think any anchor on this network has been going around saying, "Is she black?"
Y'all have never
It's
had
definitely,
we have had.
been.
Look, I'm sure we have had.
Are you kidding me?
Nutty people or people who have strongly held beliefs who I may disagree with, who
Yeah.
somewhere on some panel have said something, but
Yeah.
I will just
But
speak
even-
up for what I do on the show. I do believe it's important to get people different viewpoints as long as they're willing to have a legitimate conversation. What I
But
don't like
is-
are surrogates who come out and just spout talking points that they don't even believe, and those are people I tried to eliminate from having ever on the air again.
I think no network has honest conversations about Donald Trump. Nobody's had honest conversations about Donald Trump since 2016. I saw last night they were talking about, the double standard that exists between Donald Trump and the vice president. But there's always a double standard with Trump, whether it's with Hillary, whether it's, against Biden, now with Kamala. We talk about him being a threat to democracy, but we don't treat him like one.
I mean, I don't know what you've been watching, but
wanna-
I don't know of any Trump supporters out there or people who like him who are tuning in to me every night to try to get, to be validated in their opinions. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I disagree.
I don't
with
think it's
you.
about validating. What you mean, validating the Trump?
Well, you're saying like that we're
Propaganda.
not that I guess you're saying I'm not discussing all the things he is saying and doing and pointing it out and talking to what John Kelly. I mean, this has been discussed. There's nobody.
Anderson.
Let me just
Every
say,
day.
there is nobody on the planet who has not heard and seen pretty much everything Donald Trump has said and knows.
I don't believe that.
Knows,
I don't believe that.
Well,
When-
knows
when-
who-
when- when the vice
whether they believe
That's
it or not,
insane.
whether
That's
they care or
insane.
not.
When the vice president said that to you last night, she said, "I don't think enough people know." I 100% believe enough people have not heard his rhetoric. What do you think, Angela?
I do too.
I was
Really?
just
The
about
guy
to
that's
say,
been
can y'all
campaigning
tag
for
me? And
almost
I'm
10
never doing
years.
this
I'm
remote
sorry.
with y'all ever again.
Angela, yes.
They haven't listened
It's
to
the
his
problem of being on
campaign.
satellite. Yes.
For
I
10
know
years.
it is the
Come in.
problem. No, I was just going to say, I think what you're saying is fair, that there have been roundtable discussions where y'all raised this. I think the problem is it would be nice for, you to cut to camera and say, I'm looking right here, right now. Y'all, Kamala Harris is a black woman.
Right,
Let's
that's not
move
my-
right along.
yeah,
But
yes.
but
That's not
I
his
was going to
place.
say to
What the
your
fuck?
colleague's credit, Jake, right after the town hall yesterday, he said that you all had the opportunity to critique what Kamala Harris' policy proposals were, what her positions were, what her recommendations were, whether or not she answered a question fair enough because, ta-da, she's the only one that showed up for the town hall. It was supposed to be a debate. He said that. that. I think that the point is we don't hear those things enough, and it has been a threat. We cannot say, Kamala is going on with Joe Rogan, Donald Trump is going on with Joe Rogan, but Kamala's choosing Club Shay Shay. Debate it. Like it's like, what is he going to say when he goes on?
Here's what I've been saying, which is it is a double standard because Kamala Harris has policies and she talks about her policies. And you may think she doesn't talk in detail enough about her policies, and plenty do. And I pushed her on that last night. I try to look at the policies from different, but she's got stated policies and you can look them up. Donald Trump does not have policies.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and we say, I mean, this is nothing new. We talk about this all the time. He doesn't have, he does not have, his policy, in 2016, his policy for Iraq was taking Iraq's oil by using U.S. soldiers to surround the oil fields and extract the oil somehow and bring it to America. I mean, literally, and I was like, that's not a thing. In the Middle East. So that's been going on now. That's what
you just did. What you just did is what I would like to hear more pundits do, because a lot of times we ask answers.
All right,
like we say things like, "Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?" Like I think we kind of got enough evidence to know that answer.
I'm not a pundit. I'm not interested. I don't think my opinion is particularly interesting for viewers out there. I'm interested in.
I disagree.
Well, okay, you can quibble with it.
I disagree with that too.
You can quibble with it, but I believe in asking questions and probing people's arguments and trying to reveal people's arguments, what's true and what's not. And I'm not on MSNBC for a reason. I'm not on some other network for a reason. I'm on CNN because I want to talk to Republicans, I want to talk to Democrats, and I want to learn from them. I don't think I have the answers. I'm willing to change my mind. People can convince me of stuff all the time. I'm not I don't even know why I'm talking about myself. I don't even like talking about myself.
No, but Anderson,
but my point is,
I want to tell you this.
I think what we're doing here is important because I do think in this country where, you know what, I got so many, I don't look at comments about myself, but I was looking up some comments about my Grief podcast, and I came across this whole inundation from people who are Harris supporters saying to me online today, like, how dare you, what a betrayal that you would ask her these questions. And I'm like, you misunderstand what my job is. I'm not on MSNBC, or no disrespect, what they do is they're very talented.
He roasted their ass.
I will say the people that sent Angela Rye and Charlamagne picked some of the biggest race hustlers in today, especially her. They're extreme race hustlers.
Might be number one.
I think Charlamagne's definitely climbing the ropes and making himself a useful race hustler to prod and push for the agendas of the Democrat Party and people who are trying to push these narratives, because they're just prodding him so hard on doing his job because he didn't do the job good enough to their liking. And now people are agreeing, yeah, I agree. They need to push more back on Trump being a racist, and you don't need to be so mean to Kamala. You guys after she's black. I mean, even one of her biggest supporters that's a former CNN employee, back when she campaigned in 2019 or 2020, whatever it was, brought up the fact that she's not black. I mean, she's black, sure, but she's not African American black.
Well,
black
why does that matter, bro?
I don't understand
I don't even know
why
it came up in this race.
I do. I don't know, because she's trying to make it seem like she's black.
I understand.
And that's why they made it matter. They brought it up to think, oh, well, she's not. She may be black, but she ain't black how we.
It's
black.
overdone
That's
now.
a fact. It's overdone. We've established it. She's not black how we're black. She has no blackness in her life. Raised by an Indian mom in Canada, white husband, white stepchildren. Went to HBCU for 4 years. Oh my gosh.
Charlamagne is Samuel L. Jackson on Django. He ain't never leaving the Democrat plantation.
I mean,
some niggas say we Samuel.
Well, that's what they do. They flip it on us. They make us say like we Uncle Ruckus, but they the real Uncle Ruckus.
It's just very interesting to me that these are the two people that are doing it, because she's an extreme race hustler. She's such a race hustler that when she was called out about it, she cried on national television. And him, I mean, this guy Charlamagne, America's racist, this and that. He's been on the radio for 20 plus years. This guy's been on TV, and America's racist. Dude, you didn't even go to college, bro.
Every black person in America almost
racist?
hears this guy in the morning. Bro. I didn't know he was this like not global, but around the United States on every black radio station it is in the morning. I heard him. I heard him a couple times, but I just it kind of clicked everywhere. The other day.
It's
was
everywhere.
Like, this guy's on a radio station every morning.
Everywhere.
And he talks about Trump. This guy is the problem.
And you know,
I want to ask these people a question. If America is racist, Name one place that's a diverse pool of people to the same extent America is that's better than America. Name one place on earth. I mean, the opportunity that you have here as a person that's not white is probably greater here in America than it is anywhere else on the planet. Because if America was so bad, we wouldn't have people who are not assimilated, not like us, in any way, shape, or form, that speak our language, know our culture, know our customs, that trying to come here.
That come here
every day
and vote Trump.
Like, we wouldn't have that.
You misunderstand what my job is. I'm not on MSNBC, or no disrespect. They're very talented, but I don't watch it. I'm not interested in watching what these overpaid blow-dried anchors think, and I include myself in that overpaid blow-dried, although I don't blow-dry.
A little bit, you do.
I am overpaid, but I'm not interested in the anchor's opinion. I'm interested in facts and letting the viewers make up their own mind. So anyway, I'm sorry this devolved into something else.
I like that you said that, but I will just say in this moment, some of what we're talking about tonight, Anderson, is not actually an opinion at all. It is just the facts. And you are one of the most trusted voices on television. And it is important in those moments where you know those conversations devolve into nonsense, particularly on the other side of the aisle. Their conspiracy theory, they won't even say her name right. That has to be checked in the moment, because that is what fascism looks like. That is how we start sliding down a very slippery slope, and we cannot afford to be here. The election is 12 days away, and this should not be even what is on the ballot, but democracy's on the line. That is not a partisan issue. It is the truth. And I think that's what's important for cable news networks in particular to be saying, whether you're on Fox, you're on CNN, or you're on MSNBC. For all of us, that is our responsibility and our patriotic duty.
And now that I know you can literally call bullshit, I want
Literally.
Now shut up, Charlamagne. You know what's funny? I just looked up, I knew what fascism was.
You got a book.
It is a book called Liberal Fascism. They like, when you look up fascism,
Nigga, it's communism, pretty much.
Fascism is like an extreme point of view. Like, it's like you're just a super extremist.
But
they putting liberals involved with fascism.
Well, that's just one book. But fascism, they refer to like Hitler. That's why they saying fascism. They try to, like, that's the same thing as Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin.
Crazy.
That's who was the biggest fascist back in that time.
Yeah, it's a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology, and is characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, and militarism, and its forcible suppression of the opposition. Well, I think we can see a forcible suppression of the opposition from the Democrat Party when we look at things like when they didn't want to put Trump on the ballot in multiple states, when they didn't want to allow RFK to leave the ballot once he joined Trump's ticket, and they forced him to stay on the ballett, which is anti-democratic.
Put him in court.
I mean, they tried to bring cases on him. I mean, him and Nicole Shanahan, who were both Democrats, have said they've been sued. They've been people have tried to bankrupt and derail their campaign ever since they left the Democrat side, and it's all coming from Democrats. And these are lifelong Democrats. We also have seen it happen with Tulsi, who said she left the Democrat Party and she's been politically persecuted. They've put her on watch lists and things like that. I mean, the cases that have been put on Trump are going to the point where now they've been brought to different court cases and they're being thrown out. I mean, we've seen political suppression of the opposition from multiple sides coming from the Democrat Party. No one ever talks about that. But when Trump says, well, when I get in office, I'm going to come after the corrupt politicians. Oh my gosh, he's a fascist. He's going to take over. He said he's going to be the dictator comments were taken out of context the same way that the Constitution, all the comments Trump makes are taken out of context. I mean, when you look at the context of what was said, he said, I'm going to be a dictator and drill. That's crazy, guys. We're crazy for trying to drill oil in America and become energy deficient. That's what he said. I'm going to be a dictator on day one and drill. Verbatim. That's the quote.
Yeah, I mean, you know how they're going to take it.
Is that so crazy? I mean, we have to start adding context to the statements that we're making and stop pushing your interpretation or one ideology or one way someone interpreted it as fact, because a lot of the time they're doing that to push a narrative. The rhetoric that's been brought against Trump has brought 2 assassination attempts on his life. I mean, the American people are not dumb. There's too many alternative sources
of
information now. There's way too many.
They're using his words instead of his actions. I knew this was too far when they called Vivek Ramaswamy. He's saying Russian talking points. That's when I knew it was over.
It's absurd. They do these things. They do these things and slap these labels and use this rhetoric to discredit someone and destroy their argument. But I think we're coming into a time and age where there's enough alternative sources of information where you can debunk a lot of this stuff. I mean, A lot of it's been debunked. Oh, he said there's very fine people on both sides in Charlottesville. That's a lie. We still use that to this day. Project 2025, that's been debunked. I mean, come on.
They kind of start using that right now, though. They know that's why they this new thing, fascist new
Bro,
thing.
there's always a new
They're
title.
going with the Hitler.
Then they find their
Hail
greatest,
Mary.
they find their greatest foot soldiers of black race hustlers, Charlamagne, Angela Rye. I mean, what was it? Al Sharpton. All these race hustlers who want to use their blackness as a shield and a crutch, and they use it to really set us back. I mean,
it's funny. Samuel L. Jackson came out and he really did play Django. It was the
Hey man, I mean,
Bring you
once I
niggas
saw they
back to the
paid Lizzo $2 million to do her endorsement, I know
Whoa.
everybody's getting paid
She got paid how much?
$2.3 million to do her endorsement for Kamala Harris
I
in
love
Detroit.
Kamala Harris.
that's terrible.
I didn't get no. I promise you, if I got millions of dollars, I wouldn't be sitting here in sweatpants right now.
Hey.
Put me some design clothes on.
I don't think I can still do it, man, because it's been too far, man. Kamala couldn't pay me $1 million to do it. We out of here.